Whether you've been making Pesach for many years or it's your very first Pesach staying at home, let My Pesach Kitchen show you how to prepare and serve fabulous meals on Yom Tov and Chol HaMoed without stress. Faggy Murray, a popular recipe developer and food blogger, guides you through the process of making, prepping, and cooking for Pesach so it's pressure-free for you.
There are more than 130 easy-to-follow recipes with stunning photos, practical hacks, and creative tips. A special Chol HaMoed section includes creative cooking ideas for at-home and on-the-go travel. There are shopping lists, day-by-day cleaning and turning over tips, and menu planning.
My Pesach Kitchen is available at artscroll.com. Use code Jill100 for 20% off your order. Hello, and welcome to Let My People Eat, a podcast that provides satisfying talk about kosher nutrition. Here we clear through the clutter of nutrition speak, arm you with the clarity and confidence to eat, feel, and be your healthiest every day. I am Jill Scharfman, a board-certified holistic nutritionist living in Los Angeles.
And I'm Dr. Andrea Moskowitz, a neuroscientist and psychiatrist in Los Angeles. I use my training and experience to integrate positive lifestyle changes into my patients' lives.
Hey, Andrea.
Hey, Jill. How's it going?
It's going okay, but you know, it's coming up real fast.
I know. Pesach.
Pesach. After the year we've had, I can't believe we're here all over again.
I know.
Yeah. And there's a lot to cover and a lot to talk about, especially because this year Pesach begins Motzei Shabbos.
Right.
So there are a lot of other things that we need to be aware of just to make it more fun. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited today to talk to our guest. Her name is Hana Itzhaki. She began her blog, lakosherkitchen.com, in 2011 after graduating with a degree in journalism from Cal State Northridge. It was started as a way for her to share her passion for cooking while raising a family, and she enjoys reinventing recipes to help take the monotony out of putting dinner on the table night after night. Her recipes are first tested and approved by her husband and 5 children before being posted for all to enjoy. While not in the kitchen, Hana sells real estate with Rodeo Realty. Hi, Hana.
Hi, Hana.
Hi, how are you?
We are good. We're definitely getting into Pesach mode right now. So any hints and tips and tricks, we would love to hear them.
Sure.
I guess the first question is, we start with cleaning our houses.
Right.
So what's that would be the first step. So why do we have to clean? What do we have to clean? What do we not have to clean?
Sure. I'm really happy to be here to talk about that. I just want to ask both of you, first of all, how do you feel when you think of cleaning for Passover? What are the feelings that come to mind?
It's a little overwhelming. I am fortunate that I have help, although last year with the whole COVID situation, I did not have help except for my 2 daughters. So the cleaning and the changing over the dishes for me, bringing everything in from the garage and unpacking, that for me is what I am afraid of the most. I don't mind the shopping. I don't mind the cooking. It's that cleaning and transferring part that I have a hard time with.
Right. I think a lot of people can identify with that. Andrea?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to say, I can't sound like too blasé here. So I've done Pesach myself for like 26 years, and we never went away, which I think was actually a very good thing. So I will say, like, now I have a plan. I know how things flow. I know, like, how much to do, what I don't have to do, which is, I think, a big, important thing.
Right.
It was very overwhelming when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know, over the years, I've developed, you know, my plan when things get done and just kind of go along. And it's a lot of work. But I honestly, I hate to say this, like, it's not such a big deal in some ways.
Okay. That's all right. Yeah.
Because I have a plan and I've done it. My plan works, and that's it.
your experience at the Passover Prep. It's not new for you. You're not a beginner. You know what needs to get done, and you put your head down, you plow through it and do it.
And over the years, I've simplified a lot, which I think has been like really, really helpful, which I'm sure you'll get to when you talk about it. But I've realized like
experience that compared to make everything right and easier.
Yeah.
I know for myself personally, I didn't grow up keeping kosher or celebrating the holidays. So for my husband and I, it was something completely new for us when we became religious and when we got married. So I also had to learn as a beginner some 16 years ago, but having done it over and over again, I found that there are things that you can do to make it easier and more simplified and even more enjoyable.
Right.
Okay. So it is a mitzvah to clean for Passover. It's part of the holiday, the actual preparation from the holiday. So let's just get into why we do it and how we do it. And hopefully we'll have some tips for everybody who may be beginners. I think most people last year, even if they had never made Passover before, experienced having to make it because of the situation, obviously from Corona. So I would hope at this point, everybody has at least some experience. And hopefully this year it should be easier because, like you said, you didn't have help last year. I also didn't have my help last year. I had all my children home from school. So I think if anything, this year must be easier than it was last year because thankfully we're mostly past all of the difficulties that we had last year, even though we aren't entirely back to normal. So it's funny also when I think of preparing for all the other holidays, when I'm in the midst of preparing for Rosh Hashanah and just all the other holidays throughout the year, I always say to myself, well, at least it's not Passover because that's way harder than anything else. And I think this year it's safe to say that preparing for Passover this year, at least we're not in the beginning of Corona like we were a year ago. And so whatever happens this year, it'll definitely be easier than last year. So I wanted to get into why do we clean for Passover? The Torah states in the book of Exodus, Sefer Shemot, that by the first day, referring to the first day of Passover, all hametz shall have been removed from your home. This is considered to be a positive commandment, something that you are required to do even before the holiday begins. Also in the same book, there are two negative commandments, meaning two things that you must refrain from doing during Passover, and they are you shall not see and you shall not have in your possession, referring to any chametz. So how do we know that the chametz needs to be removed before the beginning of Passover? It's because of the verse that states, you shall not sacrifice the Passover offering while there is still chametz. And since we know that the Passover sacrifice was offered on the 14th of the Hebrew month of Nisan, which is Erev or the eve of Passover, even though we no longer bring the Passover sacrifice because we don't have the Holy Temple, the Bet HaMikdash, we still go by the time of when we would have been obligated to have the chametz removed according to when we hypothetically would have brought the sacrifice. Passover is unique because there are so many mitzvot to perform of the preparation for the holiday even before it begins.
Okay, so let's talk about what is chametz.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so the definition of chametz is any flour that comes from wheat, spelt, oats, barley, or rye, which is mixed with water and allowed to ferment for longer than 18 minutes before it's baked, and then it's considered chametz. So this would include any pasta, crackers, cereals, breads that we either buy ready-made from the store or make in our homes.
Right. Okay. So now we know why we need to clean. We know what we need to clean. Right. What does that schedule look like as we are now like a little bit more than 2 weeks out?
So, right. I think it's very important, especially at this time, because listeners are now listening 2 weeks before Passover, that we be rational about what it means to clean for Passover. This is not the time for spring cleaning. I enjoy cleaning out my closet and purging things that I no longer need. But if I'm going to do that for my whole household, I need to start sometime after Hanukkah, not 2 or 3 weeks before Passover.
Right.
We recently celebrated Purim. The popular Purim greeting is Purim Sameach. We wish each other a Purim Sameach. And on Passover, we wish each other a kosher Passover. We say, may you have a kosher Passover. There's a popular meme that gets sent around and posted and reposted on social media this time of year that says, don't make Purim so sameach, so happy that it isn't kosher, and don't make Passover so kosher that it isn't sameach.
Oh, good.
I definitely want to acknowledge that there is a ton of work to do before Passover. But it's important that we keep it in perspective and we do the mitzvah. It's a mitzvah and we do it with happiness as much as possible.
Sure.
And we derive satisfaction from the work that we're doing.
Right. So one of the ways to do that is to delegate,
right?
Maybe to your kids, your husband. And if you can, or if you're in the position to get extra help to help you come in and do some of the heavy lifting, that would be great.
Right. Yes, and I think it's very important what you also mentioned, that it's not a time for spring cleaning. So know what you need to do, not what you, and separate that clearly from what you would like to do.
Right. Yes. Right. Like, so I remember we had talked to somebody else and they said, there's no chametz up in your chandelier. You don't need to clean the chandelier. And I was also reading recently, any big pieces of furniture like your refrigerator, I know there are people who go and clean behind their refrigerator. That's actually not really required in terms of Pesach, at least from what I've read and what my Rav would say.
We'll get to that. Why there's, if you do what you're capable of doing to the best of your ability, that's what we're looking for here.
Right.
Right.
So where's the first place then people start? So they're not cleaning their chandelier and they're not moving their refrigerator. Where would be the first place they should start to clean?
So definitely at this point, you should be in your kitchen.
Okay.
For sure. I just wanted to add before that, though, if we do a little bit at a time, it will get done in a timely manner.
Right.
There are things that we can do to make it more enjoyable while we're cleaning, shopping, and cooking, such as putting on music or catching up on the latest episode of Let My People Eat.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen to a shiur. Listening to some inspirational words, about the holiday. And by making a small effort to make the Passover preparations enjoyable, then overall, when we finally sit down together with our loved ones at the Seder table, it will be more enjoyable and we'll have a greater satisfaction from the work that we did getting there.
Yeah. You may be talking about this already, so I don't want to trip on you. But one thing I did years ago, which I call backwards planning. Because what happens is if you start from where you are and then you forward plan, you tend to have more stuff in there than you can reasonably get accomplished. So what I did was I backwards planned and I said, okay, best of all possible worlds, by 1 p.m. or whatever, I want to have everything done that I need to for my first Seder, or it'll be a little bit different this year. And then I just scheduled it backwards from there.
Yes.
In terms of what I was going to get done every week.
Prioritize what needs to be done.
Exactly.
Because I can tell you, there will always be things on the to-do list.
Right.
It will never be ending. I find during Passover preparation that I cross one thing off and I add 2 or 3 more. And they never all get done. But it's important that we get the things done that need to get done.
Right. Okay, so I have to admit that I'm a little overly pragmatic when it comes to Passover cleaning. I create a calendar that I mark what I'll attempt to clean each day. I also put on that calendar which days I plan to do shopping and when I'm going to actually kosher my kitchen for Passover, also known as turning the kitchen over.
Right.
I try to break every task down so that I can plan to get it done and move on to something else. For instance, 2 weeks before Passover, I'll start to clean out my kitchen cabinets. So I'll write on my calendar for Monday, kitchen cabinets upper left side, or for Tuesday, kitchen cabinets lower right side, Wednesday, kitchen cabinets lower left side, and so on until everything that needs to be done in the kitchen, all the major cleaning and all the preparations over the 2 weeks are done. And even if I don't finish something, I have some wiggle room because I'm not overly scheduling myself and I'm making sure that all of the major things are done.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. I want to make a little plug here. As much as possible during this period of time, that people should make sure that they get enough sleep. Do not stay up until 2 a.m. cleaning because you think I'll somehow get it all finished or, that'll be a great thing to do. It is not worth losing your sleep you have to, you will eventually get it done. Everything that needs to be done will eventually get done. But do not sacrifice your sleep because it'll just make you slower the next day and make you more irritable. And it will really make it seem it will be a lot harder for you to make it seem joyous.
And how many moms have fallen asleep at the Seder because they were up the night before till 2 a.m. trying to prepare.
Or didn't sleep at all.
Yeah, right. So, okay. Right. So cleaning out the kitchen cabinets, getting all the chametz out, or deciding which cabinets you're going to close up, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So once you do that, what's the next step?
So I want to say that nobody, as Andrew was pointing out, nobody should be a martyr for the holiday. Right. You're not meant to drain yourself completely. It's meant to be enjoyable. So in order to get everything done on time, you should really delegate and get help.
Right.
Everybody needs help, and no one should be expected to do all the Passover cleaning and prep alone. Everyone in the household, even small children, can help to take things out of the cabinets and put them back in. And it might mean asking your cleaning help to come an extra day once a week to help if you feel the need to, move the furniture and to clean behind and underneath. It might mean asking a Beis Yaakov girl to come to be a mother's helper for a few hours to entertain the kids while you clean the fridge and the oven. Delegate specific tasks to other family members and get one more thing checked off your list, because ultimately, traditionally, it's the woman who is looking over everything that needs to be done. My husband's not paying attention to the fact that the cabinet underneath the sink still needs to be cleaned out. But if I ask him to do it nicely, he's willing, to help out. My kids always look forward to getting new clothes and shoes for the holidays. But before we do that, I expect them to help me clean out the coat closet that's already overflowing with their shoes. And it's okay to offer incentives such as a trip to the ice cream store once everything is done for the day in order to help motivate your kids to help you clean for Passover. And involving children in the cleaning and preparation will help instill in them the value of what you're doing, and will also give them that sense of pride when you finally sit down to Seder that they've contributed to preparing for the holiday.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So now moving on to the specifics of the actual cleaning. If you haven't already, the first thing you should do is clean out the cabinets that contain food, and especially the ones that contain grain products. I try to have my cabinets cleaned out and organized the full week before Passover. I usually start with my pantry and then move on to the other cabinets that contain food. And while I'm cleaning, I throw away anything that should be thrown away. It's inevitable. We all, have a tendency to hoard some things, and, a mostly eaten package of crackers that really nobody's touched in the last few weeks. Just, it's time to part with it and to throw it out.
Right. Or the old Purim candy. I find like that's when the Purim candy that's still hanging around goes.
Right.
Right. And I keep anything that's not actually considered chametz, but that's not kosher for Passover, such as spices, beans, canned goods, in a cabinet that I'll close off and mark as chametz during the holiday. You should take time to check your cabinets for things like pasta, cereals, crackers, extra boxes of ramen, Wacky Mac, all of that. You should try to incorporate them into your meal planning now until you kosher your kitchen for Passover. And I put everything that is actual chametz, meaning anything that is made from the 5 grains, into a box in the bottom cabinet of my pantry. Mm-hmm. And that way, as it gets closer to the holiday, I don't have to go back through my cabinets and try to remember what I need to dispose of.
Right.
Right.
After I've cleaned out the pantry and the other food cabinets, I move on to the other kitchen cabinets that I'm going to be using during the holiday, because I still need my kitchen cabinets some space during the holiday for my Passover dishes and for my Passover groceries. But if I don't get to the other cabinets that I'm not using, that just contain my dishes that are not kosher for Passover, it's perfectly okay just to close them. You mark on them chametz sign. If you have small children in grade school, they usually bring home little signs that they've colored that say chametz, and you put them up there, and so everybody knows that these cabinets are off limit during the holiday. And the same goes for the refrigerator and the freezer. I go through and throw out anything that's past its prime, and I try to use up any chametz, before I kosher my kitchen for Passover.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, just my outdoor refrigerator and freezer died last week.
Oh no.
So,
Sorry.
I mean, I feel myself very blessed that it didn't happen over Pesach, because that would be the normal course of events. But I have to now replace that secondary one. But yes. Okay. So, so you've set aside your special area for where you have your chametz in a cabinet. The rest of your house, I assume, is already clean if you're already up to the kitchen.
Onto the kitchen, yeah.
So you probably want to have a special place where people can sit and eat their chametz.
Yes. So it's you have that kind of time in limbo where most of your house is clean for Passover. Your kitchen is clean for Passover. It might not be kosher for Passover yet, but it's been cleaned. And you're still allowed to eat chametz. Obviously, if you have kids, they might still want to have their cereal or waffle every morning. You definitely aren't ready to fully eat kosher for Passover yet, but because you're still eating chametz and everything's already cleaned, you definitely want to designate an area for eating chametz and be sure everyone knows where and on what dishes and where to dispose of it after eating. This gets more challenging the closer to the holiday it gets, and especially after you've already turned your kitchen over. Because you're going to be cleaning out and rearranging everything in your kitchen, you want to be sure that everyone else in the household understands that they need to begin to be more careful of where they are eating, and obviously be careful to clean them after themselves while eating chametz. Right. And thankfully, we live in Southern California where I can just send my kids outside. I said, you want a cookie? You need to eat it outside. Right. Coincidentally, it's raining today, which almost never happens. But thankfully, we can say just the outside table, you're going to eat there if you want to have anything that's not kosher for Passover.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, so now we want to talk about actually everything's cleaned and ready in the kitchen. We want to talk about the koshering. We have to now kosher the kitchen before we can start cooking.
Right. So this is really important, and each different thing in your kitchen needs to be koshered differently. The microwave, the oven, the countertops, the sinks. And there are many different minchagim about how to go about doing this. Some people pour boiling water if they have stone countertops. Some people cover it with foil. The oven needs to be cleaned, and then you can either use a self-cleaner, the self-cleaning function on it to kosher it, or you can set it up to the highest temperature. There's 2 reference lists from rabbis here in Los Angeles that put out a publication every year. One is from the Rabbinical Court of California and of the West Coast, headed by the Rabbi Gabriel Cohen, and that can be found on bet/dean.org. And they provide a Sephardic Passover guide. And the other one is kosherquest.org. Rabbi Eliezer Eidlitz puts out the Kashrus Conscientious Passover Guide magazine, and both of these are available to download. And in them, they specify specifically for Sfaradim and for Ashkenazim what is the preferred method of koshering everything for Passover in your kitchen. So I don't want to get into the specifics because, like I said, there's many different ways of doing it. But these 2 publications are, by respected rabbanim. That someone, if you've never koshered your kitchen before, or if you need just to brush up on the knowledge, these are definitely 2 references to go and check out.
Okay, great.
So can I give one little hint? Because this happened to us, so now I know. So if somebody has double wall ovens and they're using the self-cleaning function, you should not, first of all, don't do them at the same time. Whatever you do. Yes. And then my suggestion also is to kind of give like 2 days in between doing each one, because if you don't, you can burn out the computer part of it, and then you will have no wall ovens.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So
yes, that would be unfortunate.
That would be very unfortunate. Yes. So I'm just like letting people know.
All right. So now let's talk about menus, because by this point, the kitchen is koshered, ready. You have all your dishes. You're ready to start cooking. Let's talk about menu planning.
Right.
Okay. Sure. So as far as the menu goes, I would say simple is better. People get really hung up when it comes to what are we going to eat for Passover? Well, it's easy because you really have to keep it simple. You have fruits, vegetables, meat, matzah, and maybe some dairy products, and just keep it as simple as possible. As simple as, pan frying, braising, roasting vegetables. It shouldn't be any more complicated than that. There's, roasted vegetables or a nice green salad make an excellent side, and you have to take into consideration how much matzah people are going to be eating on, the night of the Seder, that not everybody's going to want, a full 5-course meal with 6 sides that you were up till 2:00 in the morning slaving over making.
Right. For sure. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, I believe simple is always better. And, because I'm grain free all year.
Right.
I basically eat like it's Pesach without the matzah.
Right.
I basically eat like it's Pesach all year round. So yeah. So, okay. So keep it simple. And you should probably, if there are recipes that you like, your favorite recipes, you should be pulling those together, and maybe family recipes that you like.
Yeah. I would say if there's recipes that you make all year round, I mean, most families, make a traditional chicken soup. You're going to be making pretty much the same chicken soup that you make all year round. You're just going to be making it in your kosher for Passover dishes and cookware. So there's no reason to get, concerned that you're not going to have anything to eat, because many of the foods that we do eat all year round are in a way kosher for Passover. You might just have to leave out one or two ingredients, such as soy sauce, or, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Or matzo ball if you're non-gebrach.
Yeah.
Right.
Or noodles, or I mean, whatever you want to leave out. Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to, getting ready, you make your menu, and then you want to gather your recipes. So many families have recipes that they only cook during the holidays, but you might not remember where you keep them from year to year. For years, I kept a journal, an actual old-fashioned pen and paper journal, of all the menus with references for the recipes that I could look back on from year to year to see what I made. Now that everything's digital, I keep my menus in the notes section of my phone titled Shabbat and Yom Tov menus. If you're using a recipe that you found online, you can easily copy and paste the link right in the notes. And if you have a dish that you're making from a cookbook, write the name of the dish, the name of the cookbook, and the page number next to it on the menu.
Right.
If you have a handwritten recipe, take a photo of it and maybe insert it into the menu notes page, or save it as a separate folder in your Photos app titled Written Recipes. If you have a recipe that's part of an Instagram post that doesn't have a separate link, you can bookmark it in Instagram and then write in your menu the name of the post, who posted it, and so that you know that it's saved there. Yeah. And then organizing the ones that you're going to use this year and having them all in one place will make planning for next year so much easier.
Right. Okay, so we have our menu, and now we have to start making grocery lists.
Yes. So the chances are that you shop at more than one store for your groceries. So you should go through your recipes and make a list for each store of what you need. And also, if you don't already, now would be a good time to sign up for a grocery delivery service such as Instacart or Amazon Fresh. And it will save you tons of time and energy shopping, and will come in very handy if you're in the middle of cooking and realize that you need an ingredient. So obviously, maybe for your kosher for Passover specific items like, the potato starch, you're probably still going to have to go to the kosher market for those. But for, some fruits and vegetables and, milk, eggs, things that need to be purchased before Passover that you can get at any supermarket, it might be good to just have those things delivered and save yourself a trip.
Right.
Yeah. Really good idea. And I think we've all gotten very used to having food delivery services this year. So yeah, that's really good. Okay. I think also it's important to note, like, there are a lot of extras. I guess this is something else with Pesach. I mean, we need obviously our candles. If you're invited out somewhere, I don't know how many people are going out, you need to have your, think of a hostess gift. You need to think about wine. You need to think about everything that the Seder plate needs, the Haggadah, right? Like there's just a lot of other stuff that we need to think about.
Right.
Yeah, you need to stock up on food storage containers. And also, if you don't have such a big supply of cookware, you're probably going to want to, maybe buy one or at least a frying pan and at least, a soup pot. Because between those two things, you can, manage to make it through the holiday. And then everything else, you can even buy disposable cookware. If you're going to be doing any kind of baking, there's disposable or, very inexpensive baking sheets that you can purchase.
Yeah. And I get the deli containers from Amazon, the plastic deli containers, because you can make your soup and you can freeze it in there. I also like the aluminum tins with the covers. I usually will cook my food in a regular pan, but then I will transfer it for the freezer
and store it and rewarm, because you just don't have so many all of your cookware available, and you're going to need to reuse the same one over and over again.
Right. So, so I love doing that. Okay, so this year we have a special challenge because Pesach falls basically on Shabbos.
Motzei Shabbos,
Yeah, I mean, right. We go from Shabbos because again, how fun. So I was on the oukosher.org website, and there are, they give some very good hints and tips. And I know you have things also. There are things that we need to think about and be aware of that maybe we're not. So you're allowed to eat chametz until Shabbos morning, and everybody should check their times. But the chametz, b'dikas chametz, still happens Thursday night. And then early on Friday morning is when we burn the chametz. But we stay the kol chamir, which is the statement of the nullification. That's actually said on Shabbos morning, which instead of saying it Friday morning when we're burning the chametz. So that's a new thing also.
Right, different.
That's different. And we actually are supposed to have chametz and challah on Shabbos. Like that we have to do, and we have to figure out how do we do that.
Right. Yeah. So this year we have Shabbat first, and then we have 2 days of the holiday, the first 2 days of the actual Yom Tov, followed by the entire rest of the week. And I was, preparing for this and thinking, there's the phrase, Mi kamocha Israel, which other people has a vacation day / holiday where you're required to eat bread, immediately followed by an entire week-long holiday where you're forbidden to eat any bread and grain products and not even have them in your possession. So that's the situation this year. And we're going to clean and plan and shop and cook and make extra sure that everything is kosher for Passover. But the day before the holiday starts, we're going to have Shabbat, where we need to eat bread for, normally it's 3 separate meals. This year, it's going to be a little bit different because, like you said, we need to have all of our chametz finished by Shabbat morning, by a specific time Shabbat morning. And that depends, the specific time really by the minute depends on where you live. It's normally around 10:30. So everybody needs to check their own specific time.
Right. So the challah should be cut and eaten over disposable napkins and paper towels separate from obviously where you're eating your Pesach food. You're supposed to wash your hands and rinse your mouth after eating the challah. And any of the crumbs should be flushed down the toilet. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
that's for Shabbat morning.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So on Friday night, you're going to light the Shabbat candles and say the blessing for the Shabbat candles, but you also need to remember to light a candle that will stay lit until the end of the Shabbat, and you will use that candle to light your holiday candles.
Right.
And because it's Shabbat first, you have to wait till Shabbat comes out. So this year, normally we start kind of, a little bit before sunset, but because we're coming from Shabbat to the holiday, we have to wait till Shabbat comes out. And in my calendar in Southern California, it says around 7:55. But again, everybody needs to check their own specific time.
Right.
So then to make the preparations easier, all of your food for Shabbat should be kosher for Passover.
Right.
So you're going to cook or by all means get takeout food for that Shabbat. But everything except for the challah that you eat or the bread on Shabbat should be kosher for Passover. This is because your kitchen is already going to be kosher for Passover. So anything that you heat up is going to need to be heated on a kosher for Passover equipment, such as your hot plate or the blech. And all your countertops and sinks and obviously everything, the refrigerator and the cabinets are going to have to be kosher for Passover. So even though technically we're allowed to eat food on this particular Shabbat that is not kosher for Passover, it's better to eat Shabbat food that is kosher for Passover because you don't want to risk it coming in contact with your kosher for Passover kitchen and cookware and utensils. Right. So everything you eat on that Shabbat should be in dishes and cooked in disposable cookware. And just keep in mind that if anything comes in contact with the bread, even if it's in a separate container on the same table as the bread, that any leftovers should not be put back to be eaten on Passover, and definitely use a disposable, tablecloth and wrap the whole thing up when the meal is finished and take it out to the trash bin.
Right.
You should actually have the trash bin taken out to the street before Shabbat starts, because you're actually, by taking it out to the street, you're taking it out of your possession. And like you said, we make that nullification, but if you still actually have it physically, even in your trash bin in your house, then it doesn't actually, you need to make an effort to take it out.
Right. So actually the OU also said that what you could do is pour bleach or ammonia over the surface of the chametz, but designate that you're going to do that before Shabbos so they become inedible. So, if that's not an option to take it out, you can do that as well. Okay.
Right. And it's definitely acceptable to flush it down the toilet. This is something that, rabbis say that, you can do it in order to take it out. It doesn't seem, such a Shabbostic thing to do, but, for the sake of the holiday, it's acceptable. Something else people do is they eat pita instead of challah on this particular Shabbat because it makes less crumbs.
Right.
And also something that was suggested is that, you can, if it's possible to eat outside. I mean, it's still kind of chilly here in the evenings, and Passover is earlier in the year this year. So I know in some parts of, the world and the country, it might not be possible to eat outside. But if it is, that's definitely a good suggestion. You can even make kiddush outside, wash, make motzi outside, and then say the Birkat Hamazon, say the grace, and then come back in and finish the meal on your kosher for Passover table with your kosher for Passover food, and that way everything stays separate entirely.
Right. Something I was reading on the OU website as well as Rabbi Moshe Feinstein said that actually you can use egg matzah.
All right.
For lechem mishnah.
Right.
Usually it's a mizonos, but if the egg matzah is used for lechem mishnah on Shabbos, the bracha is hamotzi. You need to eat at least 2 ounces of the egg matzah, and you have to eat other foods at the meal to justify making them motzi. But that's only before up until you can have the chametz. So you can't eat it later. The other thing that we run into is Sudat Shlishit. That's the third meal. Usually we would eat that later in the afternoon on Saturday, but here we don't really have the option to do that with challah. So one of the things they suggest is to divide the morning meal into 2 parts. So you have kiddush hamotzi, 1 course, bench, and then after a half-hour break, wash again and eat the rest of the meal and bench, and do all that before the time that we're not allowed to do that. The other option is obviously you can have a Sudat Shlishit with fruits and vegetables and fruits and other things you can actually eat on Pesach. So a lot to think about there.
There are other opinions of how to do the third meal. One that I heard from our rabbi, who comes from the Rabbi David Yosef, who is the son of the Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. He actually says that if you take a machine-made matzah, regular matzah, not the matzah with grape juice, but a regular machine-made matzah, you fry it in egg before Shabbat. You can keep that one for the third meal, or he said his father used to do that for the whole Shabbat of when it directly preceded the Passover. So, because you're still able to make the blessing of hamotzi on it, but it's not considered matzah because you fried it in egg first. So again, everybody needs to really check with their own specific rabbi, because there are, different stringencies depending on your custom. But there are ways to kind of get around it, or to manage with making it through Shabbat and still having motzi, or still, having bread. And not chas v'shalom, making everything not kosher for Passover.
So Hana has been very generous that she is going to post a checklist for our audience and her audience on her blog. So I will definitely link to that on our website. Her website is lakosherkitchen.com. Again, you can go to oukosher.org to look up things there. Hana is at lal.a_kosher_kitchen on Instagram. So follow her there. She posts a lot of beautiful foods and recipes. You can follow me on Instagram at Jill H. Sharfman. Of course, always want to thank our engineer, Mike Casantini at the Network Studios. And don't forget to check us out on Shmoozy, a new social media app where you can listen to all the episodes of our podcast and join our forums for a deeper dive into our episode topics. Hana, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
We really appreciate all the knowledge and advice that you gave our audience.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Okay, have a happy Pesach.
Thank you. Be well.
Yeah, have a great
Passover.
Pesach.
And that is it for this episode of Let My People Eat. Please visit our website at letmypeopleeat.com and leave us a comment. Get in touch at our email at podcast@letmypeopleeat.com or call us at 317-659-0004.
We are also on Facebook. Search for Let My People Eat podcast to join the discussion. You can ask questions and suggest topics you'd like us to talk about in future episodes.
If you like this show, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and tell your friends and family to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Let My People Eat is proud to be part of Jewish Coffee House, where you can find your fill of stimulating podcasts dedicated exclusively to Jewish content.
Please remember that while we are certified professionals, this is not a medical advice podcast. No content, posts, or comments should be interpreted as professional guidance. Always speak to your own doctor about making the right life changes for you.
Until next time, I am Jill Scharfman.
And I am Andrea Moskowitz.
Thanks for joining us, and go in good health.